become warmer and warmer. Because now the process here immediately we ask ourselves how do we deal with this, and just people are learning but come up with an argument. They come up with an argument. How to deal with climate change? The whole is tough. Negative aspect of climate with the from the free industry. It's so important. It's also a system of we are looking for. Very, very important between us. The so-called atmosphere as a very important global common, which is simply a layer of surrounding the part within. Most definitely the hydrosphere is very important. It's also actually shared the planet Earth. And this is but because we are focusing on climate change, let's look at the atmosphere. It is helping us to make some of the rays from magnetic wave or band, which would be very, very dangerous for us. I have to feel the warming of this planet. If that atmosphere the situation is hard, either you will be cold or too hot. The warm and also help have this complete application between day and night. I don't know but only atmosphere and a lot of place is raw, it's not raw. And therefore, we need to do something. Climate is one of the most simple things we have. Unfortunately, people don't know it as a natural resource. Whenever you ask for children, can you mention the natural resources? They will either know about water. No one can ever talk about rainwater. Yet all these resources are so much important by the of that atmosphere. Whenever there is a change, everybody is really in disarray. Panic, the whole world, so it's not just a natural process, but a phenomenon. The state was natural. And there are also influences the development of sectors, because of most of the sectors in industry are so climate sensitive. Very open, the single we see what the politicians are doing. Is also mention protect the Kampala man. I think that's they are in problem. They are also and what are the problem affects the farmer. So that is for this side of the farm, and therefore a need for us to bear with it and deal with it very well. We are looking at the in general. And our environment, the greatest friends or comrades that we can have, we can do so many things. Unfortunately, this environment is no longer have that much support it should give us. Because we just need to turn around and to ask for whatever you wanted. You throw a seed there, you have Olwekobaano. We whatever you want to really turn around and do it. But now, this management, this kind of situation are becoming very common. This lady, you really look at her, she's so desperate that she cannot really expect what is happening to live for a long time there. Instead of environment, she's not looking away. It's something in the hands looking for something else. And really, man is going to do this just because of this environment in development in life. And this is something we shouldn't accept. This triangle just bring out interrelation between the environment and the economy. Climate is talk about environment. The best you can get from damage. I mean, climate is really at the center. The water we have, if there's no rain, because you will find the continent will be drier. Those that really find our lakes and rivers, they can also use transportation. It can again give other challenges. When we have drought, the level will go down, hydropower generation also comes. These things, the ecosystems, they have their roles, and when something happens to them, there's a big problem. Of course, the economy, I've said most of the economic sectors are so much dependent on them. Most of our investments have really to be supported by a good climate in order for us to really get well, to realize wealth creation, to realize trade, and also deal with poverty. Many people are becoming poorer and poorer, and many times people just say, no, it's because of bad politics. I don't think it is really the bad politics. We must first understand what are the livelihoods of people. What are people doing? And therefore, what is causing this? People are, every morning, they are waking up to go to their gardens to work, but they are progressively losing even their investments in. And therefore, you find that, yes, poverty keeps on catching up with them. However good the politics can be, but if some of these key factors in the development of people are not addressed, we may not go very far. Society, of course, it is an issue. So this slide is just showing that, yes, there are impacts on health. We are seeing new diseases. We are seeing an escalation of certain diseases like malaria, because the ecological range of mosquitoes, for instance, is expanding to where they never used to be. Cholera, whenever we have heavy rains like this, the El Niño rains, for instance, we always talk about cholera. It's just because we are mismanaging the environment. The cholera does not come with the rain, but it's just supported by the way we are managing our environment. Agriculture, of course, in so many ways is being affected. We are producing less and less, yet we are putting in more and more, and therefore we are also faced with a lot of food insecurity threats. It seems to take its time. Yeah. Water resources, they are also a victim. There are variations in water availability, depletion of the underground water reserves, frequent flooding, the increased water pollution. All these are challenges we are really faced with. The forestry ecosystems, the tourism, we've just been talking about tourism as a potential for Lusoga. There are so many sites. But if you are really talking about birds, but somehow because of climate change, their habitats get damaged. They will migrate, they will run away. You will not tie them on the ropes to remain here. So they will go where conditions are favorable. So these are a lot of other things. The infrastructure we are putting up, roads. If roads get spoiled because of too much rainfall and all that, even the tourism can be affected. People cannot access some of these sites they would really go to. And all this really makes us lose. So what is going on in Lusoga, of course, is what is going on everywhere. Anyway, I can't say that it's only in Lusoga that we are encroaching and degrading our fragile ecosystems, especially the wetlands. You people, you've moved to Lusoga, and you've seen some of the major wetlands that we've been having. They are really all gone. They are really gone. And people are not doing it maliciously. They are doing it at times just ignorantly. They don't know what they are really causing to themselves. They don't know the ecosystem functions of some of these ecosystems. Because when it comes to climate change, these wetlands are sinks of some of the excessive greenhouse gases, especially methane. People who normally walk within wetlands, there is always a smell which comes out. Whenever you disturb it, you release that smell. That is really methane. And because it has been captured and stored, instead of aggravating the problem. But we are working out this ecosystem and releasing that. They really do a lot in filtering our water and also the biodiversity. The deforestation, this is really a very, very big problem. Especially of recent when we've gone into sugar growing within this region. Because the sugar cane will not grow under trees. The rice will not grow under trees. Normally, whoever comes in to invest in that, they will first clear all the trees before they introduce this crop. But this crop will not have the same role as a tree. Really, we need people to understand, to know what is the importance of a tree. Beyond knowing that yes, from a tree we get timber, from a tree we get charcoal, full stop. So they always look at a tree just for timber, just for charcoal, just for firewood. But there are so many intrinsic roles or benefits of having trees around you. The poor solid waste disposal, especially in the urban areas, there is quite a lot of waste which is being generated because the population is increasing. The culture of consumerism has so much increased. We really want to eat. We want to dispose of a lot of things as they come in. We want to dispose them of. But how are we disposing of these things? We don't always so much take a thought about the pollution. Of course, even development, there are so many industries, like the tannery industry here, where does its effluent end up? In the lake. And all these things are causing a lot of problems. So as a result, this is resulting really from the low level of awareness on environmental benefits or the need or the importance of keeping our environment. And therefore, we tend to go in for environmentally unfriendly investments. This slide is just saying if you can really have this kind of facts and tell somebody about a tree, let somebody know that trees renew our, let me see, trees renew our air supply by absorbing carbon dioxide and producing oxygen. People I know, they know the cost of oxygen. Once you tell somebody that, my friend, if you've ever had a patient and you needed oxygen in the hospital, you know how costly it can be. That person now will get some point that if I'm getting this free, then it's important that I sustain this source which is free. Then, of course, the amount of oxygen produced by an acre of tree per year, because that kind of amount, 18 people can be supported by that. And then 1 acre of trees removes up to 2.6 tons of carbon dioxide each year, and it's really cleaning up. You know, these trees are acting like the lungs in a human being. They are cleaning up. If we didn't have lungs to make sure that, yes, carbon dioxide goes out, oxygen comes in, and all that, there would be a big problem. If a problem happens to your lungs, then in a short time you can even die. So it's important the trees are really equated to our lungs. Shade trees can make buildings up to 20 degrees cooler. Whenever you have trees around you, you really have a cooler environment. And this is something which is very practical. People have known. Every time you have, at least those who have trees in their compounds, their microclimate is always much favorable than when you are in an open place. Tree roots stabilize soil and prevent erosion. Our soils are getting so much degraded, yet we don't have more land anywhere. Uganda is small, the population is growing. Instead of us retaining our soil, which is a big resource to us, we are leaving it to go because it's not stabilized. Trees improve water quality by slowing and filtering. You can talk as many things as possible about a tree, and somebody can possibly appreciate it better. And they start looking at it as a friend, other than just a source of direct money, the quick money. So what are our concerns when it comes to climate change? We feel we should know the projection. We should know the future. Where are we going? What are the trends? Because if you don't know where you are going, how can you plan for that? Some of these things have formed us. Sometime before, we could have planned for it. But we need to collect data within our region and start making up these projections. Vulnerability assessments. We need to know how vulnerable we are. When you look at the local economic development concept, you know where your development is facing and how sensitive are they to the changes in this, and therefore how will it affect us? How are we really getting exposed? That's the problem. And then, after we've known all these, then we can be able to plan for the mitigation and the adaptation. Today we are talking about adaptation, but it's important for us to know that adaptation costs are increasingly becoming higher and higher, and they will come to a point where we can no longer meet those costs of adapting, and we shall just put our hands up. But it's important if we start addressing the problem now. This business of the white man did it before we did it, so they should really help us and do it so that for us we continue, doing things our own way. No, they did it maybe with less information than we have today. Because these things started by, because if you talk about the 1860 something at the Industrial Revolution time, they didn't have a lot of information about climate change, but today we have. So let's not repeat the same problem, same mistake that they made, if we are going to think about the generations which have come after us. So mitigation is quite important for us. and somebody lives there directly. Can you please help me from here? I will just be saying next. So next. Yeah. So when it comes to adaptation, at the national level, there is what they call the National Adaptation Program of Action, which was launched in 2007 by government, Ministry of Water and Environment. And this one was now trying to promote the resilience concept. When you are looking at adaptation, is how are we going to live with the problem? The problem is with us. It's not going to be solved today, next year, or even in a few years. So we must brace up ourselves and see how do we live with it. And therefore, within this NAPA, the National Adaptation Program of Action for Uganda, they prioritized 9 interventions which are very urgent, and they work across the country. That this is important. What has caused us problems is really the tree cover. So can we promote community tree growing? For instance, through agroforestry or any other form of tree planting. Then land degradation management. Our soils, which are the only ones we have, are losing the fertility at a very fast rate, and we need to manage that. Then we need to strengthen the flow of information, developmental information. And one of them is the meteorological information. Since most of what we do is depending so much on nature, the rains, the sunshine, and all that, we need this information. Then community water and sanitation, very, very key. Water for production, very key, because the frequency of droughts is really increasing, and we need to ensure that there is water for production. Drought adaptation, this research must really be done so that we have varieties which can withstand these harsh conditions. We must go into vector pest and disease control, because many of these both pests and diseases have really shown up during this time. Then, of course, indigenous knowledge is very, very key. People, for a long time, have their own ways of coping. The only problem is that some of the coping strategies are no longer really valid. Some are not sustainable, but some are. So we need to really look into them. And then, of course, in our planning or development planning, let's factor in climate change. Next. Yeah, this adaptation can be taken at those 3 levels, at the household level and community. Then the regional or sub-regional level. Like now, we are talking about the Busoga region. We can really plan our climate change adaptation like it has been done by the Mbale people, that Mbale region. Because Mbale, Manafu, and Bududa came up with a climate change action plan for the entire region, because they have a lot in common, and they really offered to plan together. Then the national, where all sectors need to get together. Then at the community level, we know that yes, people have been planning their coping mechanisms, only that they are not documented. But this NAPA document I was talking about, it has some of these documented, and they put them in 2 categories, category A and category B. The category A are the positive ones or sustainable ones, which don't have much negative impact to the environment. Then category B, much as there are coping strategies adopted by people, they have issues, and we may not really take them the way they are. Either we need to develop them and make them a little bit more sustainable. This is just giving some of those unsustainable strategies people are using, the coping mechanism. Shifting cultivation, we've already seen this where people just move from one place to another, growing here. When somebody really does things that way, it's not really so much attached to this, the continuity of fertility here. He knows anytime you move away, so he will not protect it. So it doesn't really help us to really sustain the fertility of our soil. Incursions, people are really moving in the gazetted areas, the sensitive areas. They think that's where the solution is. Instead of protecting them, people are going to the wetlands, for instance, and spoiling them. People are going to the river banks because they are really near where there is water, and it's causing again other problems. If other people migrate, and we always know some challenges in migration, they always seem to stray at times. We've seen people who are in Chibale, who are, what is happening in southern Sudan, times it's really people fighting over resources. Many times in our Karamoja Teso region here, whenever the Karamachongs drive their animals to Teso for pastures, they are always not really on good terms. So migration is not a solution to this. But at that moment, people are taking it as a coping strategy. Sale of assets. Some people really sell assets. And definitely this is just, again, to bring in poverty closer to you. Encroachment on wetlands, as I've said, for paddy rice. This is a strategy for people because they feel the water is always there. They can grow their crop. Indiscriminative exploitation of forest resources, the wildlife resources, because people look at them as really food. But when they eat indiscriminately, without any regulation, then even your tourism eventually will be affected. Family marriage, we've seen this, where people give away daughters because they want the food. But for them, it is a coping strategy, a coping mechanism to them, to their understanding. Change in eating behavior, they feel, now we should be eating once in a day. But what happens? It has a lot of again impact. You have younger children. You really dwell with milk in the house, you dwell with the eggs, because everything now must be sold. But now the brain of this child, if we really want our children to grow well, eating is one of those factors we must emphasize. People feed their children very well. But if there are changes in eating because of a coping strategy, then it has problems. Idling. Some of you know the results of idling. You have nothing to do, so you just go to the nearest center and you play matatu and whatever you want to do. But the criminal rate, again, really comes up. So what are the features? The features of what one would really call a Napa village. We developed that concept and we said we call it a Napa village. You implement the Napa there, and then the indicators that yes, something has been implemented well, then these are the ones. At the household level, you should be able to be food secure with the food storage and value addition. There should be water harvesting techniques really being seen around the people. Soil and soil water conservation, water bank, diversified livelihoods beyond only agriculture, the crop farming, deep and well-located pit rat feed, especially when it comes to these landing sites. We have a lot of problems here, and whenever there's a lot of rain, then there are diseases and etc. Then, of course, the energy-saving technologies. This is something which we feel should be encouraged at that level. At the community level, beyond the household, then we should be able also to do this. Can data be there? Can it be accessible by the people so that they can plan, especially climate weather and climate data? We normally give forecasts. It's going to rain this season. It's going to be like this, so that someone can know what crops can I now go in for. If they said the rains are going to be short, or if they said the rains are going to be a lot, so that people can know how to plan. Then at the community level, let there be structures so that people are organized, people learn from one another. Then demonstrations sites. We used to have demos at district farm institutes at that time, community centers. But they're no longer there. So where do people run for this kind of knowledge? So that we need these kind of things to be seized. So that's they are part of our adaptation. Landscape use and care to make sure that we manage the environment. Chair, I'm sorry, but environmental issues are so broad, and I'm just really scratching through. But maybe it's because it's a presentation which can be shared by others. Then at the local government level, yeah, we need to have ordinances. They used to be there, but at times, this politics, the way we misunderstand it, it can really spoil even the good thing. People need to be regulated, people need to be protected, because our understanding is not always the same. There are people, just like your child. We have all young children, some of us who have young children. When you see a child going to touch the fire, because for them they like just playing with it. They don't know the consequences. For you as a parent, you just don't say, no, let me leave the child. Once it has touched, it will learn that it is bad. No, I don't think that there you will put the parent. You just tell the child, don't go there, or even lock the child away, so that it doesn't really get into trouble. So these ordinances help us. People may not receive them well, but once there is sensitization, then we use them and they help them. The territorial approach, I've said, if districts in Busoga, the 10 districts in Busoga came up together and said, no, we have this challenge. How do we plan? Because just one district to plan to deal with the climate change in Kamuli, or in Kaliro, or in Mayuge, it doesn't help. What is happening in Kamuli will affect what is happening in Mayuge. So we better really do it as a group, come up with a climate action plan. You can even get sponsors or donors to support an action plan for a region, more than that of a single district. So these are critical considerations which we feel we should be the way forward. We need to build a climate change shield for our region, through systemic proofing for that resilience we want. How robust are we to stand this challenge? So there is need for human resource capacity development. People need to be empowered. There is need for investment and livelihoods, the right investment, I mean, and the right livelihoods. Then technology is important, the legislation, the information and its utilization. Just saying there is information, but you don't staff people to utilize it, may not help. These are also very important things that we can, people are always talking of. They talk of green, going green, going green. It's really this we are talking about. Let's talk about green urban and rural development system. Let's talk about green land use and production systems, e.g. climate smart agriculture. Let's talk about green health management systems, green tourism systems, green institutions, green transport systems, everything. If it becomes green, then that environment will be happy with us and we shall be able to get what we really need from it. In conclusion, I'm saying that we must constantly remind ourselves that we are an interdependent component of those ecosystems that form the complex web of life on this planet. That's a very, very important fact that we must have before we do anything. Then we each have a responsibility to be aware of our dependence on the successful function of all components of the global commons for the future well-being of humanity. Thank you so much, Chair. I'm sorry for taking much longer than possible I would have.
Thank you, Mr. Xavier. We are going to have our next presenter, and then time allowing, maybe we shall have a question and answer session before breaking off. Now, I would like to welcome Elizabeth Karevi. I'm not going to apply Miss or Mrs., but she will say it herself. Maybe, I don't know, Mr. Nabeta, would you like to join her? But she's okay. I think she will do the presentation. You're welcome now. So,
Tindi abantu bagenda Luzungu, abantu bagenda Luzungu. Basaba ne banyabo osangayo okuva olunaku, osangayo n'okuba wano n'imwe, mwebale n'okutegeka lukiiko luno, mwebale n'okutwaniriza, nebaza abantu abafaire obuseera beebuukiga wano olunaku lwa leero, okwogera ku nsonga nze bampaire mu Luzungu kyebeesa engero, aye nze tigambira ngero. Ebintu byenjoba okubera bituufu byenekino. Bantu baire nga bataireko ekigambo experiences mu Luzungu. Yeah, I just was an introduction always brings the picture. Yeah. So, nze sinzira Sweden, ndi wano n'omwami wange Tatemaawo, omweta mwami Kenneth Ogalan, abira kuumi. Sweden ndi mukulembeze wa kibiina ng'obakyeta director. Ekibiina ekyoga tukola, ekibiina ekyoka nkyogera mu mayina gaakyo ag'Oluzungu, Nordic African Women's Network, Resource Center y'abakyala ku leadership ne economic empowerment y'ebita entrepreneurship. Tubaine ne project ng'ogyeta mix and match nga yakukolagana ne Africa Investment ikola kuva na Uganda yokka kukola ku Africa yonna. Kale Uganda yo tebaire nangwino paka bwetwafuna ambassador eyali interested mu kukolagana eyatuintroducinga ku government investment authority nebintu ebingi byetugezizaako ne diaspora desk foreign affairs zabaire nga bali interested diaspora n'abantu abava e Bulaaya ekika ekyo bajumya eriina eryo diaspora oba abagwira. Kale ffe nga abagwira gavumenti yabonagana ife abasinga okuleeta essente ng'ekibiina ekirala ekinjira mu nsi eno. Buli mwaka omwaka ogwabise Uganda yafuna essente biliyoni endala akawundi kalala okuva mu bagwira bokka. Kale babona ng'ekibiina ekyabagwira oba kankome katwete eggwanga eri abagwira twena abali Bulaya yokka, abali mu America, abali mu Australia, abali mu Middle East, nga bona bali kukulaakulanya, bali ku bintu ebizimba enkulaakulana ya Uganda n'okubeeta added value. Ife twena mpigana wano okusobola ife, then I'm one of the founders of this organization, Mwami Bobby. By many discussions on social media, and you get a plan of soda. Chimney no one but some of it. Let me know one executive regime about the Bibina Uganda. Mbaku biliza soda, mlekelo kwenda maneno kwa government ya politics. Ndemuba maneno kula planet tu. Maule mchemwenda eka bwetwakulanga eddiini ne politics byalina mu bibiina. Gyenva mu Sweden oba ng'oli politician kibakuwa ssente za kibiina. Ebibiina biri non-political non-religious debeta NGO terowooza nti kusobola independent part of NGO department. N'okulonda abantu kubanga gundi mwendayino ng'ate gundi idotament radio bayogera ku kintu ekyo. Abantu kujja twakunga abantu mumpagire kuliga kulya. Aye ng'olikwera mpegano house galo akoba tezakuwanga kumere eryeko. Mu kifo ekyokulonda mwene ennumba walonda house galo akubirenga kulya oba musire bibiri. Paka house galo eyo bala mubinga ng'otwena kisobola bigamba tugoire ebyokulirako kumwe. Mwege ekintu ekyokuba mube batukobalira nti abasoga tuzira mazima tuli bankole. Ekintu ekyo nakibuulira ng'alimwana. Ekintu ekyo tukitole kuba abazungu omuzungu kiyetaaga kwenda ye omuzungu agoba nsonga Elizabeth we yasoma ki asobola kukola mulimu ki era yambita mu mpapula zo yabona okusobola wamukobera n'experience ye most times zibakubuuza okolanga kuki ekiraga nti osobola mulimu oba olyawo batraininga bamakinga sure nti koyidikwa osobola okwongerezaako wasobola okukola omulimu aye okumala galonda muntu kuba omundayiro ekyo tikikugasa abasaala abasinga obungi bano tijja oba muli ba polygamist oba mwakulira mu polygamist background aye nga basokeeyo nijje tugwatemutwenda abasinga obungi mu polygamist families mwite nga abasaala bakandi ba federalist yasasulirako abaana bangi omwana yajja mubojja nabakisasulira kabiri oyo nabitamu yatandika okuyamba bano abaafuna school fees kabiri ndi kulimba mulirinze ku nsonga eyo aye ekyo kikuyamba kitya ngaye omuzaire era ensonga ekiri kugema ng'olikulya ssente n'omwana gwotaagerere kubanga niwe omuzaala aye nekyobusoga tuzaire abantu wano abasobola otuyamba ife twalira wano forumu ya gavumenti bajeeta home based summit era ebaye Masaka twayagala n'abantu bangi twayagala n'abasoga ab'obuvunaanyizibwa nga kibawulirangako nti eriyo olukiiko ly'okubalayo olunaku omwami oyo raises a point nti yafuna information egema ku bya tourism board ekintu ekyo kituswaza ino ng'abasoga baganda bali nkulaakulana bajja mu maiso n'Uganda eyo aye abasoga kwegabanya twagamba tulowooza nti akange kakyayeyaife ng'ate ekintu ekyo kikituufu kubanga omuntu abaganda nabali misenje ebyamusoga kigindi naye abaganda bakuba nti agali awamu gegaema omuntu omuzungu nga bwe baliriko tafaayo oba omwami ono alyatya oba tamwenda oba kumuliraane waibagabya bikibyatanye tebemugema kasaaba ng'asobola okukola ekintu ekyo yategeera nti gwasobola okutaama obwesige amuyambe oba akole ekintu kiyetagala kumuyamba kuba tebalowookeza mu kubayamba tebalowookeza mu muntu yambe banange ife tuli mulekere n'okwesaasira abasoga bwendayina okwesaasira yaife mutuyambe ate n'abakyala nima bensinga okwogera nabo mulekere okwesaasira katonda yatonda omuntu bwe betonda nze nasoma human rights lwange omuntu yena alina obusobozesi niye baba abantu nga baliko obulema bafuna mpegana abona balina okuyambibwa okutuuka ku stage yayo omuntu omulamba aye omuntu okuba nti musaagala omukazi abalanda balanda bazira difference baziranda omuntu wayimba nti omuntu ogw'omusaagala gukolayo mukusinga ogw'omukazi era mwidi bulungi bano tulina abakufuga abakazi n'omusaadha osobola okuba olinanga obwetaavu wajjanga niwoolima olulidde w'omukazi kale ekyo kyonna ekyokuba nti omukazi alina nsi ya musaadha ekyo mukisooke mutuve ekikulu kyene kyenjikwenda okubaka obanga abasoga abazungu kibalweseewo wakubanga bagezeeyo omuzungu w'omuleeta n'omutwala nze ndimulamu njewe egadumire n'omutwala egadumire eyo munaku ibiri abaafire ng'ate omusoga omutwala n'omutwala mu sino mu Greenland avaayo ng'alina byabire nabyo kale bombi nange omugezi aye mpegana omuzungu wanda n'akulaga nti kino gyakikola mpegana abantu bali wano balirinda bazungu bayidde bakole era twalina abazungu mama wange yakolanga mu YWC nga balinda bazungu bwe bajja okufuna abazungu abantu balina enkokodaine ente bayitira abazungu abazungu babirya balona okusobola ekigambo kyebakola thank you very much bagolola ng'ate abasoga basolozanga ssente eyo okugula ebisolo by'okuyitira abazungu aye ng'ate omuzungu waza kyakuwa omuzungu alina kuyiga wano abona ebyolinabyo abikozese afuna eitaka eryobwerere azimba ekisenge wobitakuba kumebiri ku itaka eryadalagamu era mwegendereze abalifunda eitaka abaliguza bayinga eitaka abaliguza eitaka lya busoga mulekere awo kubanga abantu abalitunda ettaka kitundu kino litunda omuzungu azira ownership ly'ettaka mu buzungu ettaka lya gavumenti aye fe wano tulina omukisa nti ettaka lya muntu lyaboosikirano ettaka eryo bwe buligulira liga kubanga omuntu ebulaaya yali ekintu kye beta homeless abantu tekerezaako wano abaana tiri gye basinzira tiri baana baani abali mu nguudo ddaika balisabiriza aye nze nakulira mugina muno mwali muzira ba homeless yali ono resitusomu nga babeegazi abo bantu bakayerekayire abalema kuba gavumenti ebiseera ebyo yali teyamba bantu mu ngeri ebyo aye abatambula ku nguudo twali kunabo mbakubiriza okubona nga abantu balimu abali mu byalo mugalobere okutunda ettaka bw'obanga ali kwetaaga eno ssente mumukoba apangise bopangisa ettaka eriyo ebitongole bingi ebiri ne ssente kino kyomumanya ku kirala kyonka ebitongole bya gavumenti ya Uganda olukiiko nga lumu wandibayolesa ebitongole ebyo byona byona ebiri ne ssente ed'okuyamba n'okusula omutindo gw'ebitundu aye ng'omwami ono bw'akola kiboneka nga busobola kutuyirwa ebibiri oba essente zabasongeza kuwalizimu kitwalifuna era omwaka gugumu ogulire kuleera abinala kirowooza nga munaku ekisigaire omwenda mu mwaka gyasooka okukola ekintu kuba beetaaga purojekiti beetaaga okugityama kuba gyakuruvinge ekyo kiri nga kinasoboka omwenda essente edindi diriyo era development bayuthi mubeegerese bave mu bwongo obw'okusulanga ekutiya za ssente tezebabagabira gibatusekere kubanga bayuthi bakomementi emito nebijja okuzimba ekibira abaana baiko beega nti balina kusabiriza nakulinda gavumenti ebanga essente ife abakulu bali kwegera kungi kubanga abantu abakulu ife abali sapoti okuba nga tulinaki ekyokulagira ekyabaana okubonerawo tusobola okwekolera abasoma tulina eitaka olibona kirowooza nga omwami ono omubedona aide wano lwabwere era akubye bala ati kusoga nesinga okuba eya tourism mu Uganda yalimu tulina source of the Nile ey'omuli omu agiyita tiyetaaga kwongerera ensi yona yona balina omuyiga Nile okutandikirawo ekintu ekyokubiri kye tulinakyo ne ensozi zaife nikyayogeereku hoteri eyo gyebeta tourism hotel Churchfield yali okuva ku Bungereza yagisulamu abazungu babirwaine bulwaine wekikusula mu kisenge Churchfield kyeyasulamu aye okusula mu hoteri eyo n'okukoba nti bakikaire well-advertised ife tupegana ng'abannayuganda twekola mu bibiina twatandika gye beeta investment oba okwesimba kuba buli omu ayenda kwira ewaibu nga lwakuba aye mpegana ife tulaba nga tukwire tutandikira bangaimuve tukwagana bazirage magana manini naye okujja okwesiga tulina ekibiina kyaife ekya Uganda